How's it going, everyone? I'm Max, and set 14 is finally upon us. And with it comes new units, augments, and compositions. So today we're going to go over 5 easy comps to play and help you get a head start on the set, so when the set drops you'll be good to go and start climbing that ladder. So the 5 comps that we're going to be talking about today are going to be Marksman Vanguard, Bastion Zeri, and Cypher. These are going to be our 4 cost compositions, and our 2 reroll comps are going to be Vayne Vanguards and Veigar Cyberboss Nitro. Now, the goal of learning these comps and even just playing PBE is to become familiar with the units. What do they do? What traits they have? And what do those traits do? So the whole point is to become familiar with the set and not so much about figuring out what's strong currently, as that might change as the set becomes live. So starting off with our first comp is going to be Marksman Vanguard. Very easy comp to play. This is a level 8 physical damage stall board with 2 main parts being the Marksman offensive backline trait and the Vanguard frontline defensive trait. So Vanguards gain shielding and durability, while Marksmans will gain attack damage. Because Vanguards gain shielding and durability, you want to be making sure that you're building HP and resistances with them to have more effective tankiness for your backline. Since this is a physical damage board, you want to make sure you're either building Even Shroud in the front line or having Last Whisper on your primary or secondary backline carry. Here are some early game example boards that you can be playing. So you want to be playing around Infinity Edge and either the Rageblade or Shojin, depending on what you have early and what units you were able to draw. Either or, you want to be trying to play Vanguards early and upgrading them, as these will be on your level 8 board starting stage 4. If you are playing around the Rageblade, you're going to ideally want to be playing around Aphelios as your primary and prioritizing his items, while if you have a Shojin, you want to be prioritizing Xayah as your primary carry and prioritizing her items off of Carousel. This is what your level 8 board is going to look like. So on 4-2, you're going to want to level to 8, roll and stabilize with 6 Vanguards plus Aphelios and Xayah. Now Aphelios' best in slot is going to be Rageblade plus Infinity Edge plus 1. And this is rather flexible, so either Gunblade, Runons, Guardbreaker, Red, Last Whisper, Giant Slayer, or Deathblade are great on him. Xayah is also going to be using Infinity Edge, and you can pair this with Shojin, Last Whisper, Giant Slayer, Deathblade, and Guardbreaker as well. As mentioned before, you want to be prioritizing items off of Carousel depending on what unit you're currently carrying. So for example, if you're playing around the Vayne, you really want to be getting that Rageblade, Infinity Edge, and like a Gunblade. Whereas you're around a Jhin, you want to be going for that Shojin, Infinity Edge, and like a Last Whisper. Tank items will be going on your Leona and either your Braum or Jarvan, depending on who is upgraded at the time. And on level 9, you want to be playing a Garen and looking to Vanguard mod him. Here's another version of the board that you can play, and you want to be playing this in very heavy scaling or low burst lobbies. You can also play this version if you have extra frontline, such as Locket or a Golem. Now, what is this version? It is 4 Marksman, 4 Vanguard. So effectively, you drop 2 of your Vanguards to play Jinx and Jhin, and now you have a scaling AD backline. However, you also have a much weaker frontline. On level 9, you're going to be wanting to play Aurora, and then you could drop the Silas and replace him with a Braum 2-star for a bit of a stronger frontline. So moving on to our second composition of the day is going to be Bastion Zeri. So pretty similar to the first composition, however, instead of Vanguards, we now have Bastions, and instead of Marksmans, we have Rapid Fires. Still a level 8 physical damage stall board, and the Bastions gain resistances, so you want to pair this with now HP and durability, and Rapid Fires gain attack speed. Because this is a physical damage board, you still need to be building either Even Shroud or Last Whisper, and there's one more component to this composition, is going to be Exotech. So this is pretty similar to previous Zon trait, if you played that set. We are going to be looking to play 3 Exotech in this composition, which means we will be getting 1 Exotech item. And you're able to check this early by looking at a Jax and his traits. it is very important to identify whether or not this is a frontline item or a backline item, as it is different per game, and this will affect your item economy in terms of how many items you need to build for your Sejuani or how many items you need to build for your Zeri. Here are some early game board examples that you could play. So you want to be playing around the Rage Blade and then also the Gunblade. And your aim is to play and upgrade early Bastions, as these will be on your board starting stage 4. Exotech and Animal Squad are going to be two great options. So at the top here, you could look at a sample Exotech board with Jhin holding your Zeri items. And in the bottom here, you could look at a Bastion Animal Squad board with Vayne holding your Zeri items. This is what your level 8 board is going to look like. So on 4-2, level to 8, roll and stabilize with 6 Bastions, Zeri, plus a rapid fire, ideally Draven. Now, Zeri best in slot is going to be that Rage Blade, Gunblade as we were talking about. And here is where a little bit gets complicated. It's not too crazy. If the Exotech item is a backline item, then that will be your third Zeri item. However, if the Exotech item is a frontline item, then you will be wanting to put that on your Sejuani ideally and have a second Rage Blade as your third Zeri item. So here's how we break it down. If it is a frontline Exotech item, you know that you only need to be building 2 Sejuani items. However, if it is a backline Exotech item, you only need to be building 2 Zeri items. Until you have Renekton, you'll be looking to play Poppy. Your tank items go onto your Sejuani and your Galio, and on level 9, you're going to look to play a Garen and then Bastion mod the Zeri. Moving on to our third comp is going to be Cypher, and Cypher is going to be the high risk, high reward trait of the sets. It's a level 8 physical damage board, and you'll be looking to play this from a early Draven or Galio, and you'll be looking to lose streak. Now, this is a composition that requires extra items, as you have multiple carries, and these carries need to have items in order to pop off. Now, what is Cypher? You will be gaining intel by losing combats and by killing enemies. Now, the one thing to know about this trait is you can only trade in or cash out your intel one time within the game, and these are the timings, so it's really important to know when you want to be trading in your intel for your cash. And then once you trade in your intel, your Cypher champions will gain AD or AP depending on how many you have activated. So a bit more information of that onto this slide here. As you remember, losing combats and killing enemy units. This means that playing this early game, you really want to be pairing this with lose streak augments that will spike you harder in the mid and the late game. If there are really weak boards in your lobby and you're afraid of winning and accidentally breaking your streak, make sure you trap your units so then your ranged units are able to get hit first and play your weakest board. Ideally go for at least 225 intel before cashing out. This way you can get either a support item anvil, component anvils, and a golden item remover, or at least an artifact anvil. Anything plus or past 225 intel is even better and will give you an even better chance of winning out. This is what your level 8 board is going to look like. So ideally cash out on either stage 4-3 or 4-7 and then look to win out from there. Your two main carries before you find Renekton are going to be Zed and Zeri. So Zed, you want to be building Infinity Edge plus Hodge plus 1, either an Eon, Deathblade, Giant Slayer, or Titans. We already discussed the Zeri itemization on the previous slide. Same thing with the Exotech backline versus frontline items. And then you want to be playing a Renekton. Until you have Renekton, it's fine to play Alawi for that 4 Bastion. Your tank items will be going on your Sejuani, and then on level 9, you'll be looking to play your Garen and Bastion mod either your Zed or your Zeri, depending on your enemy matchups if they have backline access. So those are all the standard comps playing around 4 cost carries. We're now going to move on to reroll comps, and our first one is going to be Vayne Vanguards. So this is going to be a level 6 physical damage stall board as well, and you want to be playing this from early Vaynes plus a Rage Blade. Additionally, there is a specific gold augment of category 5 that will really urge you to play this composition because Runons is one of Vayne's best items and she is able to just use it so efficiently. Slayer is going to be one of Vayne's traits, and Slayers gain attack damage and Omnivamp. So as you can see here, it increases at each breakpoint, and we're looking to play 2 in the early game and eventually end off at 4. Here is what your level 6 board is going to look like. So you want to make sure that you're slow rolling on level 6 for that Vayne 3. And your best in slot is usually going to be Rageblade ×2 plus Runons. However, if you do have the category 5 augment, you'll be going 1 Rageblade and 2 Runons. In regards of your frontline, try to 3-star as much as you can. It just depends whether or not your units are contested, if they come early, whether or not you have any economic or reroll augment as well. And then position to avoid CC or any burst cheese melee assassins such as Shaco or Graves. Here is what your level 8 board is going to look like. You're going to end up playing 6 Vanguards and Senna and Zed for your 4 Slayer. In regards of positioning, really make sure that you're avoiding same-siding your Sejuani, as you really need to make sure that you're stacking your Ginsu's Rage Blades and they're not being stunted or halted. Because this is such a scaling comp, you want to look for any stall or frontline augments to help you out, such as Dummyfy, Bulky Buddies, Lineup, or Spirit Link to allow your frontline to stall as long as possible and get those Rage Blades ramping up. And our last reroll composition of the day is going to be Veigar Nitro Cyberboss reroll. This is going to be a level 5 to 6 reroll composition and will be a magic damage board. Now you want to be playing this if you have early 3 Nitro, so you could start stacking as soon as possible, and if you have tiers. Now what is Nitro? Nitro is going to be similar to the trainer trait from previous sets, where essentially once you have at least 3 Nitro activated, you'll get a little bug called R080T, and this bug will be increasing its power depending on the star level of your Nitro champions. Now once you get to 200 Chrome, or 200 stacks, it will now upgrade into a T-Rex or a dinosaur and become a lot stronger. So this means you really want to have your 3 Nitro in as soon as possible and upgrade them ASAP as well. The second part to this composition is going to be Cyberboss. So essentially, this will affect usually only 1 Cyberboss at a time until you have 4, and that Cyberboss will have increased HP, ability power, and its ability will become AoE. So here's what your level 6 board is going to look like, or even your level 5 board is going to be just without Elise. You want to be slow rolling first on level 5 for your Veigar units and your Nitro units. Now the Veigar Abyss is going to be blue buff Nashers +1, ideally it is a Gunblade, however Rabadons, Archangels, and Jewel Gauntlet are fine substitutions as well. One thing to remember is your summons or your little bug will be granted more Chrome depending on the star level of your Nitro units. So it's very important you're going for this 3-star Nidalee, Shyvana, Kindred. Elise is much harder to get because she is a 3-star unit, which means augments such as Starry Night are going to be ideal for this composition to help you hit your 3 stars early. Here is how you're going to cap out your board by playing Kobuko and Ziggs. Once you get that 4 Cyberboss in, then all Cyberbosses will upgrade and now Kobuko will become a good secondary carry as well. Remember to position Veigar in front of enemy melee carries as he does a lot of burst damage and you're able to get them out of the fight very quickly. And that's everything for today. So I'll be doing a quick recap of all the compositions that we talked about and why they're important, and then we'll end things off. So today we just talked about some easy PBE compositions that you could be playing to familiarize yourself with the units, their traits, and get you started and ahead of the game for when the set actually drops. It's important to know both the 4-cost compositions of rolling on level 8 and playing around the 4-cost carries, and also how to reroll physical damage compositions and magic damage compositions. So if you learned something today or you're interested in more videos, make sure that you subscribe and also join the Ups and Max Discord in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day, and I'll see you next one.